The great chamber was silent. 5,000 species from across the galaxy had gathered here, and not one of them made a sound. Their eyes were fixed on the enormous holographic display that floated above the center of the room. On that display was something that should not exist. Ships, thousands of them. They hung in space like a cloud of metal and light, stretching as far as the sensors could reach. Each one was massive, built for war, and they all bore the same strange symbol on their hulls. A blue circle with white and green continents. No one in the chamber recognized it. High Arbiter Velkar rose from his throne. His scales gleamed under the chamber lights, dark red like dried blood. He was old, even for his long-lived species, and he had ruled the Galactic Council for 3 centuries. In all that time, no one had dared challenge his authority. His voice echoed through the vast space. "Whose armada is this?" he demanded. "Who dares enter council space without permission?" No answer came. The ships simply waited, their weapons cold but their shields blazing with power. Velkar's clawed hand tightened on the arm of his throne. Around him, the lesser council members whispered nervously. Fear was spreading through the chamber like smoke. On the flagship of the unknown fleet, Admiral Taiwan stood on the bridge with his hands clasped behind his back. He was a tall man with gray streaking through his dark hair. His face showed no emotion as he watched the distant council station on his own screens. Around him, his crew worked in calm silence. They had trained for this moment for years. "They are demanding identification, sir," said Jiwoo from her station. She was younger than the Admiral, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Should I respond?" "Not yet," Taiwan replied. "Let them wonder. Let them worry." Young Su, a junior officer at the weapons console, glanced over his shoulder. "Sir, their defense platforms are powering up. They might attack." "They won't," Taiwan said calmly. "They are too afraid. They have never seen ships like ours. They have never been challenged in their own territory. Right now, they are trying to understand what we are." He was right. In the council chamber, confusion had turned to panic. The military commanders were shouting orders. Analysts were scrambling to identify the unknown vessels. Nothing in their databases matched. These ships used technology that should not exist. Their hulls were made from materials the council had never seen. Their engines produced readings that defied known physics. Worse, the fleet had appeared without warning. They had bypassed every defense system, every sensor network, every early warning station. One moment the space was empty. The next, thousands of warships simply existed where nothing had been before. It was impossible. It was terrifying. Velkar slammed his fist down. "I want answers. Find out who they are, and if they do not identify themselves in the next 10 minutes, I want them destroyed." His military commander, a 4-armed creature named Thaxul, bowed low. "My lord, perhaps we should exercise caution. Their technology appears to be Gar. I did not ask for your opinion." Velkar roared. "I gave you an order." Thaxul backed away, all 4 hands raised in submission. But his eyes showed doubt. He had fought in 100 battles. He knew when he was facing a superior force. And something about these unknown ships made his warrior instincts scream danger. On the human flagship, Jiwoo looked up from her console. "Admiral, I am receiving a transmission from the council station." "Ambassador Heejin is ready," Taiwan nodded. "Put her through." The image that appeared on every screen in the council chamber showed a human woman. She wore a simple black suit. Her dark hair was pulled back from her face. She looked calm, almost serene, as she gazed out at the 5,000 alien species staring back at her. "Greetings," she said in perfect galactic standard. Her voice was soft but clear. "My name is Heejin. I am the ambassador representing the people of Earth. We have come to introduce ourselves to the Galactic Council." The silence that followed was absolute. Then Velkar found his voice. "Earth? That primitive world in Sector 447? The one under quarantine?" Heejin smiled slightly. "Yes, that Earth, though I would disagree with the word primitive. This is impossible." Velkar sputtered. "Earth was classified as pre-spaceflight. Your species has barely left your own planet. You do not have the technology for interstellar travel, let alone to build a fleet of this size." "We did not have that technology," Heejin agreed. 50 years ago, that was true. But things change. We learned, we built, we prepared, and now we are here." A council member from the insectoid Kresh species spoke up. How did you advance so quickly? It takes species thousands of years to reach this level of development." Heejin's expression became more serious. 50 years ago, one of your scout ships crashed on our world. The pilot survived long enough to give us a warning. He told us about the Council. He told us about Protocol 7. He told us what you do to species like ours. The chamber erupted. Species were shouting at each other. Some were demanding explanations. Others were calling for immediate military action. Velkar was screaming for order, but no one was listening. Jin waited patiently for the noise to die down. When it did, she continued, "That pilot gave us his ship's computer core before he died. We studied it. We learned from it. We discovered that the galaxy was not the peaceful place the Council claims to be. We learned that emerging civilizations are not contacted peacefully. They are conquered, enslaved, or destroyed." "Lies," Velkar shouted. "The Council protects developing species. We guide them." We found records," Jin interrupted quietly. 73 species in the last 1,000 years. All of them eliminated when they reached our level of development. All of them classified as threats to Council stability. All of them wiped from existence. The silence returned, heavier than before. Many of the Council members were looking at Velkar with new expressions. Doubt, suspicion, fear. Jin stood straighter. "Humanity made a choice 50 years ago. We decided we would not wait to be destroyed. We would not beg for mercy from those who have none to give. We unified our entire species for one purpose, to build a fleet strong enough that the Council would never dare threaten us. And here we are." Velkar's scales had gone pale. "You will submit to Council authority," he said, but his voice shook. "You will surrender your vessels and accept integration as a junior member species. If you do not, we will destroy you." Jin shook her head. "No, we will not submit. We will not surrender. We came here to offer the Council a choice. Reform your ways. End the persecution of emerging species. Create a true federation based on equality and respect, or face humanity as your enemy. This is war," Velkar screamed. "You have declared war on the entire Council." "No," Jin said calmly. "We have declared our independence. Whether that leads to war is your choice, not ours. Choose wisely." The transmission ended. Jin's face disappeared from the screens. The Council chamber descended into chaos. Species were arguing. Some were calling for immediate attack. Others were demanding negotiations. A few were quietly calculating which side would win if war came. On the human flagship, Taewan allowed himself a small smile. "Well done, Ambassador. Now we wait." Jiwoo was watching her sensors. "Sir, I am detecting movement in the Council fleet. Several battle groups are forming up." "Expected," Taewan said. "They will test us. They have to. They need to know if our confidence is justified." Young-soo turned from his console, excitement and fear mixing on his young face. "What if they attack, sir?" The Admiral looked at his crew. "Then they will learn the truth. Humanity does not make empty threats. We are here because we are ready. For peace or for war. Either way, the galaxy will never be the same." Outside, in the cold darkness of space, the human fleet waited. Silent, patient, ready. Behind them, Earth watched and hoped. Ahead of them, the Council prepared for war. And across the galaxy, millions of oppressed species heard the news and dared to dream of freedom. The question had been asked. Whose armada is this? The answer was simple but powerful. This was humanity's armada, and nothing in the universe would ever be the same again. 50 years earlier, the Pacific Ocean was calm under the morning sun. Dr. Kyung-mi stood on the deck of a research vessel, staring at the water. She was young then, fresh from university, excited about studying deep-sea creatures. She had no idea that her life was about to change forever. The object fell from the sky like a shooting star, but it did not burn up. It hit the water 3 kilometers from her ship, sending up a column of spray that reached for the clouds. Kyung-mi's team scrambled to investigate. What they found would change humanity's future. The ship was small, barely 20 meters long, and it was dying. Smoke poured from cracks in its hull. Strange lights flickered and went dark. Inside, they found him. The alien was tall and thin, with blue-gray skin and large dark eyes. He was bleeding a liquid that looked like silver. He tried to speak, but the words made no sense. Kyung-mi held his hand as the medical team tried to save him. They failed, but before he died, he did something. He touched a device on his wrist and pointed at the ship's computer. Then he spoke one word in broken English. Warning. The computer core they recovered from that ship contained everything. Star maps, technical schematics, historical records. and most important, a file marked in the aliens' language. When they finally translated it, the title made them go cold. Protocol 7, Suppression of Emerging Civilizations. Director Sang-ho read the file 3 times before he believed it. He was not a scientist like Kyung-mi. He was a spy trained to see threats and plan against them. And this was the biggest threat humanity had ever faced. The galaxy was ruled by a council that did not tolerate competition. Any species that developed spaceflight technology was quietly eliminated. The records showed 73 species over 1,000 years. Some were destroyed by engineered diseases. Some were bombed from orbit. Some simply disappeared. Their entire solar systems turned to dust. The council called it maintaining stability. Sang-ho called it genocide. He gathered the world's leaders in secret. He showed them the evidence. He explained what was coming. In 5 years, maybe 10, the council would notice that humanity was developing faster than expected. They would send their own scout ships to investigate. And then they would make their decision. Integrate humanity as slaves, or erase humanity completely. The debate lasted for weeks. Some leaders wanted to hide, to slow down their technology to hope they would be overlooked. Others wanted to send messages of peace to beg for mercy. Sang-ho argued against both. The council would find them eventually. And the council showed no mercy to the weak. We have one choice, he told them. We become strong enough that they cannot threaten us. We build a fleet. We develop weapons. We make ourselves too dangerous to attack. That will take centuries, one leader protested. We barely have space stations. How can we build warships? Kyung-mi stepped forward then. In her hands was a data chip. I have been studying the alien technology. I think I can do it. I think I can crack their faster-than-light drive. Give me 5 years. Give me funding and resources. I will give you the stars. She was true to her word. Working in secret laboratories hidden around the world, Kyung-mi and her team tore apart the alien ship piece by piece. They studied every circuit, every power cell, every line of code, and slowly, painfully, they began to understand. 4 years later, the first human ship broke the light barrier. It was small and crude, but it worked. Kyung-mi stood in the control room and cried, as the test pilot's voice came through the radio. I can see other stars. I can see them clearly. We did it, but one ship was not enough. While Kyung-mi built engines, Sang-ho built shipyards. On Mars, hidden in the red dust. On Europa, buried under the ice. In the asteroid belt, disguised as mining stations. And in deep space, far from any planet where no one would think to look. Captain Minji commanded one of the first stealth ships. Her vessel, the Silent Runner, was designed to be invisible. She spent years mapping Council space, photographing their stations, recording their patrols. She learned their patrol routes, their communication frequencies, their military protocols, and she was never caught. What Minji discovered made her sick. The Council was not just suppressing new species. They were actively hunting for them. Scout ships constantly swept through uncharted space, looking for radio signals, heat signatures, any sign of emerging civilizations. When they found one, they marked it, watched it, waited until it reached a certain level of technology. Then they acted. She found records of a species called the Vex. They had been like humans, curious and creative. They built their first fusion reactor. 2 months later, a Council fleet arrived. The Vex homeworld was bombarded from orbit, 5 billion dead in a single day. The survivors were taken as slaves. The species was declared integrated. Minji sent her reports back to Earth. Sang-ho added them to the growing file of evidence. Every discovery made them more determined. Humanity would not end like the Vex. Humanity would fight. The greatest challenge was keeping it secret. Millions of people were involved in the project. Ships were being built. Weapons were being tested. Soldiers were being trained. All of it had to be hidden from the Council scouts. One mistake, one detection, and everything would be lost. They had some close calls. A Council scout passed through the solar system once. Minji watched from her hidden position as the alien ship scanned Earth. Her heart pounded as she waited. Would they notice the unusual activity? The strange energy readings from Mars? But the scout moved on. Humanity was still classified as primitive. Still beneath notice, years passed. The fleet grew. Kyung-mi's engines became more powerful. Human scientists discovered new technologies by combining the alien knowledge with their own innovations. They developed quantum displacement fields that could phase ships out of normal space. They created weapons that could crack planets. They built shields that could withstand the heat of stars, and they trained. Admiral Taiwan was chosen to command the fleet. He was a military man, hard and disciplined. He drilled his crews endlessly. Every ship had to operate perfectly. Every officer had to know their role. There would be no second chances when they finally revealed themselves. Jiwoo served under Taiwan from the beginning. She was his strategic mind, the one who calculated the odds, who predicted enemy movements. She studied every battle the Council had ever fought. She learned how they thought, how they fought, how they could be beaten. They rely on overwhelming force, and she told Taiwan one day. They have never faced an enemy that can match their technology. They do not know how to fight as equals. That is their weakness, Taiwan nodded. Then we will teach them. When the time comes. Now, 50 years after that alien crashed into Earth's ocean, the time had come. The fleet was complete. Thousands of warships, each one a masterpiece of technology and determination. Millions of crew members, all volunteers, all ready to fight for humanity's future. Ambassador Hye-jin had finished her speech to the Council. The challenge had been issued. Now the universe held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. On the human flagship, Taiwan watched his sensors as 3 Council battle groups moved into attack formation. They are Draconid vessels, Jiwoo reported, Velkar's personal fleet. Heavy cruisers and battle carriers. They are forming an encirclement. Young-soo checked his weapons console. Sir, we have firing solutions on all enemy ships. Should I target their engines? No, Taiwan said calmly. Do not lock weapons. Do not power up offensive systems. Let them make the first move, sir. Young-soo looked confused. Taiwan smiled slightly. We came here to make a point, not to start a war. Let us see if Velkar is foolish enough to attack us without knowing what we can do. The Draconid ships moved closer. Their weapons glowed with building energy. In the council chambers, species watched the holographic display in terrified fascination. Velkar stood at the center, his claws clenched. He had given the order to attack. He would show these humans their place. Fire, he commanded. 1,000 energy beams lanced through space. They struck the human fleet with enough force to vaporize moons. The council species leaned forward, expecting to see the human ships explode. Instead, they saw something impossible. The beams passed through the ships like they were ghosts. Every shot missed. Every missile flew through empty space. The human fleet had not moved. They had simply stopped being entirely in normal space. Kyungmi's quantum displacement fields had worked perfectly. The council chamber was silent. Then it erupted in chaos. Velkar was screaming orders. Species were demanding explanations. And the human fleet simply hung in space, untouched, unharmed, and utterly terrifying in their invulnerability. On the flagship, Jiwoo looked at her admiral. Sir, we have demonstrated our defensive capabilities. What now? Taiwan's eyes were hard. Now we show them our offensive capabilities. But we do not fire. We simply prove that we could. Calculate firing solutions for every enemy ship. Then broadcast them on an open channel. Let them see how easily we could destroy them. Jiwoo's fingers flew across her console. Seconds later, every Draconid ship received the same data packet. Precise targeting information. Exact weak points in their shields and hulls. The calculations were perfect. If the humans had fired, the entire Draconid fleet would have been annihilated in minutes. Velkar received the data on his personal display. The message arrived in the dead of night. Ambassador Hye-jin was sleeping when her communication device began to flash. She sat up immediately, fully alert. Secret messages at this hour meant something important was happening. She opened the encrypted file and began to read. The message was from a species called the Kresh. They were insectoid creatures, tall and thin with 4 arms and compound eyes. 300 years ago, the Council had nearly destroyed them. Their crime was developing fusion technology too quickly. Half their population had died in the bombardment. The survivors had been forced into submission. Now their representative, Dalthur, wanted to meet. In secret, away from Council surveillance. Hye-jin understood immediately. The Kresh were reaching out. They saw humanity as a potential ally, or perhaps as a weapon they could use against their oppressors. She brought Subin with her to the meeting. Subin was young and idealistic, trained in diplomacy and cultural exchange. She believed that understanding between species was possible. Hye-jin was more practical, but she valued Subin's optimism. Sometimes hope was as important as strategy. They met Dalthur on a small station in neutral space. The Kresh representative was nervous, his 4 hands constantly moving. He spoke in clicks and whistles that the translator converted to words. "Thank you for coming," Dalthur said. "I know this is dangerous for both of us. If the council discovers this meeting, they will call it conspiracy." "Then let us be quick," Yijin replied. "What do you want?" Dalthur's compound eyes reflected the dim light. "Hope. My people have lived under council rule for 3 centuries. We have pretended to be loyal. We have hidden our true capabilities, but we have never forgotten what they did to us." "And we are not alone. What do you mean?" Zubin asked softly. "There are others," Dalthur said. "Dozens of species who remember their freedom, who have secretly preserved their cultures and technologies. We call ourselves the Remnant. We have been waiting for generations for someone strong enough to challenge the council. We believe you might be that someone." Hyejin studied the alien carefully. "You want us to fight your war for you?" "No," Dalthur said firmly. "We want to fight beside you. We have ships. We have weapons, hidden away, waiting for this moment. Alone we would be crushed. But together, with humanity's strength and our numbers, we could change the galaxy." Subin's eyes were bright with excitement. "This is wonderful. We can build a real alliance based on mutual respect and shared goals." Hyejin was more cautious. "How do we know this is not a trap? How do we know the council did not send you to test us?" Dalthur reached into his clothing and pulled out a small device. "This contains locations of hidden bases, names of resistance leaders, evidence of council war crimes, information that would get me executed if the council knew I had it. If I were a spy, I would not give you this." Hyejin took the device. She would have her intelligence teams verify the information, but her instincts told her Dalthur was genuine. "If this is real, then we have much to discuss. But I need to consult with my government first." "I understand," Dalthur said. "But please hurry. The council is planning something. Velkar is furious about his defeat. He will not accept this humiliation. He will strike at you again, and next time he will bring more ships. They were right to worry." At that moment in the council chambers, Velkar was plotting. His military advisors had failed him with direct confrontation. Now he would try something different. Something more devious. "We will stage an attack," he told his inner circle. "A neutral station will be destroyed. We will make it look like the humans did it. Their new allies will abandon them. The galaxy will see them as murderers, not liberators." The plan was put into motion quickly. A small station near the border was chosen. It housed representatives from several minor species, mostly diplomats and traders, innocent people who would make tragic victims. 3 Draconid stealth ships moved into position, but someone was watching. Commander Jae-hyun led Earth's Special Operations Forces. His job was intelligence gathering and covert operations. His teams were scattered across council space, monitoring communications, tracking military movements, building networks with resistance groups. One of his operatives noticed the unusual ship movements. 3 warships on a secret mission, their transponders turned off. Jae-hyun knew immediately that something was wrong. He sent a priority message to Admiral Taewon. Taewon brought his senior officers together. "We have a problem," he said, showing them the intelligence reports. 3 Draconid ships are moving toward a neutral station. Their weapons are hot. I believe they are planning a false flag attack. Jiwoo pulled up tactical displays. "If they destroy that station and blame us, it will turn neutral species against us. It could fracture our growing alliance before it even forms." Young-soo had been promoted recently for his good work. Now he spoke up. "Sir, I have an idea. What if we do not stop them? What if we let them start their attack, but we record everything? Prove it was them?" Taewon considered this. "Risky. People could die while we gather evidence. But if we intervene too soon, they will just deny it and try again later," Young-soo argued. "This way we expose them. We show the galaxy what the council really is." Taewon made his decision. "We will do both. Young-soo, take a fast ship and get to that station. Evacuate as many people as you can without alerting the Draconids. Jiwoo, position our stealth vessels to record everything. The moment those Draconid ships fire, I want every sensor locked on them. We will have proof that cannot be denied." Young-soo moved fast. His ship, a small courier vessel, jumped to the station at maximum speed. He contacted the station commander with an emergency message. "This is Captain Young-soo of the Earth Fleet. You are in immediate danger. You must evacuate now. The station commander was confused. What danger? Our sensors show nothing unusual. Your sensors are not good enough, Young-Soo said urgently. Please trust me. Get your people onto escape pods. Do it now. Something in Young-Soo's voice convinced the commander. Alarms began to sound. People rushed to escape pods. Within minutes, the evacuation was underway. Young-Soo's ship stayed close, ready to shield the pods if needed. The Draconid ships attacked exactly when Jae-hyun's intelligence predicted. 3 vessels decloaked and opened fire. Their weapons tore into the station, ripping it apart. Explosions bloomed in the darkness. But the station was empty. The escape pods were already safely away, protected by Young-Soo's vessel, and the entire attack was recorded. 3 human stealth ships had captured everything in perfect detail. The Draconid weapons signatures, their ship identification codes, every piece of evidence needed to prove who had really attacked the station. Jiwoo broadcast the evidence on every frequency the galaxy could receive. Within hours, every species knew the truth. The Council had tried to frame humanity for mass murder. And humanity had not only stopped them but had saved innocent lives in the process. The political impact was devastating for Velkar. Species that had supported him began to question his leadership. The Draconids were humiliated. Velkar's own military commanders were furious at being used for such a dishonorable scheme. Dalthor sent a message to Heejin. You have shown the galaxy who you really are. Not conquerors, not murderers, protectors. The remnant is ready to stand with you. We will reveal ourselves and our forces. Together we will build something new. Over the next weeks, hidden fleets emerged from concealment. The Kresh brought 30 warships. Other species contributed more. The Talrin, aquatic beings who had been enslaved for 500 years, revealed an entire fleet they had built in the oceans of their water world. The Morpheus, shapeshifters who had infiltrated Council Society, shared intelligence networks spanning the entire galaxy. Subin worked tirelessly to build bridges between these diverse species. She organized cultural exchanges on human ships. Alien diplomats experienced human art and music. They learned about human philosophy, about concepts like individual rights and self-determination. Many wept at the beauty of ideas they had thought were lost forever. The alliance grew stronger every day. Combined fleet exercises showed that human and alien ships could fight together effectively. Shared technology made both sides more powerful, and most important, a sense of unity began to form. They were not just separate species working together. They were becoming something new. A true federation, Heejin called a grand assembly. Representatives from Earth and from all the remnant species gathered. She stood before them and spoke. The old council ruled through fear and force. They suppressed freedom and punished those who dared to be different. We offer a different path, a federation based on equality, where every species has a voice, where emerging civilizations are protected, not destroyed, where strength is measured by cooperation, not domination. The hall erupted in cheers. Species that had been enemies under council rule now stood together. Hope had returned to the galaxy. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. The council would not give up power easily. War was coming, and this time, it would be like nothing the universe had ever seen. Dalthor approached Heejin after the assembly. You have given us more than ships and weapons, he said. You have given us something we thought was dead. You have given us hope. Whatever happens next, we will not forget this gift. Heejin smiled. The war began on a Tuesday. Fleet Admiral Dongwoo stood in the command center watching the tactical displays. He was a big man with scarred hands and eyes that had seen too much combat. He had been chosen to command the combined Federation forces because he understood something most military leaders did not. War was not about destroying your enemy. War was about making your enemy understand they could not win. The Council had gathered the largest fleet in recorded history, 3,000 warships from a dozen species. They had arranged themselves in the classic Council battle formation, a massive sphere that could direct firepower in any direction. It was intimidating. It was supposed to be unbeatable. Dongwoo had 1,000 ships, 1/3 the enemy's strength. His staff had calculated the odds. Without something special, they would lose. But Dongwoo had something special. He had humans and their allies fighting together with a coordination the Council had never seen. They will come at us like a hammer, he told his officers. They will try to surround us and crush us with overwhelming firepower. But a hammer is useless if it cannot hit its target. We will be water, We will flow around their strength and strike at their weakness. Engineer Bora had given him new weapons. She was a genius who had discovered that human and alien technologies could be combined in unexpected ways. Human quantum displacement fields merged with Kresh plasma weapons created a devastating new system. Talrin sensor technology combined with human AI produced targeting computers that could predict enemy movements seconds before they happened. The Council fleet advanced. Velkar commanded from his flagship, determined to erase his previous humiliations. He had brought his best ships and his most experienced commanders. This time the humans would not embarrass him. This time they would die. All ships open fire, Velkar ordered. I want that human fleet destroyed. 3,000 ships fired at once. The energy released was enough to boil oceans. Space itself seemed to scream. The weapons converged on the Federation fleet like the fist of an angry god. It should have been the end, but Dongwu had not been idle. All ships execute scatter pattern Delta, he commanded calmly, and activate displacement fields. The Federation fleet broke apart like a flock of birds. Each ship moved in a different direction, and each one phased partially out of normal space. The Council's massive attack hit nothing but vacuum. Thousands of shots fired, 0 hits scored. Before Velkar could process what had happened, the Federation counterattacked. But they did not fire at the Council's main fleet. They fired at specific targets: communication relays, command ships, sensor arrays. In the span of 30 seconds, the Council fleet lost coordination. This is impossible, Velkar screamed at his staff. How did they know where our command vessels were? How did they target through our jamming? No one had an answer. They did not know about the Morpheus infiltrators who had spent years mapping Council fleet organizations. They did not know about Talrin sensors that could see through any jamming. They did not know about human computers that processed battlefield data faster than any organic mind. Pilot So-Yun led Ghost Squadron into the heart of the chaos. Her squadron was elite, 12 pilots in the fastest ships ever built. They screamed through the Council formations, dodging fire with impossible grace. Their mission was not to destroy ships, but to sow confusion. They jammed communications. They hacked targeting computers. They made the Council fleet blind and deaf. Ghost leader to all birds, So-Yun called over the squadron channel. Remember your training. Do not engage in extended combat. Strike and fade. We are not here to win duels. We are here to create chaos. Her pilots were good. They were human, and Kresh and Talrin working together as a single unit. One human pilot would draw enemy fire, while a Kresh wingmate struck from an unexpected angle. A Talrin pilot would identify weak points that human reflexes could exploit. They were more than the sum of their parts. Admiral Taewan commanded the main battle line. His flagship, the Indomitable, was the largest ship in the human fleet. But he did not use it to slug it out with Council battleships. Instead, he used it as a mobile command center, coordinating the complex dance of the entire Federation fleet. Jiwoo sat at his right hand, her console showing hundreds of data streams. Council fleet is trying to reform, she reported. But their coordination is poor. Sector 7 has lost contact with Sector 12. Sector 4 is firing on Sector 9 by mistake. Good, Taewan said. That is exactly what we want. A large fleet is only strong if it can act as one. Make them many small fleets and they become weak. Young-Soo had proven himself in the previous crisis. Now he commanded his own ship, a fast cruiser with a mixed human and alien crew. His tactical officer was Kresh. His engineer was Talrin. His weapons officer was human. They worked together perfectly. Captain, we have an opportunity, his Kresh tactical officer clicked. Council supply ships are exposed. If we strike now, we can cripple their logistics. Young-Soo made a quick decision. Take us in. All power to engines and shields. We will hit them hard and fast, then get out before they can respond. His ship dove into the enemy formation. Weapons blazed. 3 supply ships exploded. Young-Soo's vessel took hits, but the shields held. They were back out before the Council could organize a response. But the damage was done. Without supplies, parts of the Council fleet would be combat ineffective within hours. The battle raged for 12 hours. It was brutal. Ships exploded. Thousands died. Young-Soo's vessel took heavy damage and he lost a third of his crew. But slowly, inevitably, the Council fleet began to break. They had never faced an enemy like this. The Federation ships did not fight like Council vessels. They did not stand and trade blows. They moved constantly, striking from unexpected directions, coordinating attacks across vast distances with perfect timing. It was like fighting smoke. Every time the council tried to pin them down, they slipped away. Dongwu watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The council sphere had collapsed into a confused mass. Their casualties were mounting. And his own fleet, though damaged, was still combat effective. It was time for the final stroke. All ships converge on Velkar's flagship, he ordered. We will cut off the head of the serpent. Taewon led the assault. His ship, along with 50 others, punched through the council defenses. They focused all their firepower on Velkar's massive dreadnought. Shields blazed and failed. Armor cracked. Systems went dark. On the council flagship, Velkar realized he had lost. His fleet was in chaos. His ship was dying. And the humans had proven they could destroy him whenever they chose. All ships retreat, he ordered, his voice filled with defeat. Fall back to the core worlds. The council fleet turned and ran. They left their dead behind. They abandoned damaged vessels. They fled in disorder, each ship trying to save itself. It was a complete rout. The greatest military force in galactic history had been defeated by an outnumbered enemy. On the Indomitable, Taewon's bridge crew erupted in cheers. Jiwoo was smiling, tears running down her face. Youngsu, battered and exhausted in his damaged ship, allowed himself a moment of pride. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had won, but Dongwu did not celebrate. He looked at the casualty reports and his expression was grim. Victory had cost them. Hundreds of ships destroyed, tens of thousands dead. The price of freedom was always paid in blood. He opened a fleet-wide channel. His voice was carried to every surviving ship. We have won today, but let us not forget those who paid for this victory with their lives. They were humans and Kresh and Talaran and more. They were different species, but they fought as one. They died as brothers and sisters. We honor them by remembering why we fight. Not for conquest, not for revenge, but for the right of all beings to be free. Across the fleet, exhausted crews stood in silence. Some were human, some were alien. But in that moment, they were all the same. They were the Federation, and they had changed the galaxy forever. News of the battle spread across the stars at light speed. The Council had been defeated. The invincible military machine had been broken. Species that had lived in fear for centuries dared to hope. Maybe things could change. Maybe the old order was ending. In the council chambers, Velkar was stripped of his rank. His own military commanders removed him from power. They had followed him into disaster. They would not make that mistake again. The new leadership sent a message to the Federation. They requested peace negotiations. Ambassador He Jin received the message while standing on the bridge of a Federation medical ship. She had been helping treat the wounded, both human and alien. She read the Council's request and nodded slowly. Tell them we accept, but the negotiations will be on our terms. The galaxy is done being ruled by fear. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. Building a new galaxy, one based on freedom and cooperation rather than oppression and fear, would be harder than any battle. But as Heejin looked at the mixed crews working together to save lives, she knew it was possible. Humanity had shown the galaxy what could be achieved when different peoples worked together. Now they would show the galaxy what peace could look like when it was built on justice rather than force. The peace conference was held on a neutral world. It was a small planet with purple skies and silver oceans. No one had lived there before. No one had claims to it. It was perfect for building something new. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered in a building built specifically for this purpose. The walls were transparent, allowing everyone to see the landscape beyond. It was a deliberate choice. No more meetings in dark chambers where secrets could hide. Everything would be open now. Everything would be visible. Ambassador Heejin led the human delegation. She had aged in the months since the war began. Gray streaked her hair and lines marked her face, but her eyes were still sharp and her voice was still strong. She stood before the assembly and spoke. We gather here to build something that has never existed, she said. A true federation. Not a council that rules through fear. Not an empire that conquers and enslaves. But a union of equals where every voice matters and every species has the right to determine its own future. The old council representatives sat uncomfortably in their seats. They had lost the war, but they still had power. They still controlled vast territories and resources. They wanted to negotiate from a position of strength, but they could not. Everyone in the room knew they had been defeated. President Ha-Jun had come from Earth to attend the final sessions. He was a skilled speaker who understood how to inspire people. He stood beside Hye-jin and addressed the assembly. For too long, the galaxy has been divided between the powerful and the powerless. The strong prey on the weak. The developed crush the emerging. This ends now. Dalthur, representing the remnant species, added his voice. My people remember freedom. We remember what it was like before the council came. We remember our culture, our traditions, our right to exist without fear. We will never go back to the old ways. Either we build something new together, or we will fight again, and this time we will not be alone. The negotiations took months. Every detail had to be argued. Every principle had to be defended. The old council powers resisted every change. They wanted to preserve as much of their authority as possible. But they were negotiating against species that had tasted freedom and would not give it up. Scholar Yunji worked with representatives from dozens of species to draft the new constitution. She was a historian who had studied every government system humanity had ever tried. She knew what worked and what failed. She combined human wisdom with alien perspectives to create something unique. The final document was beautiful in its simplicity. Every species would have representation based on its population. Military forces would be organized for defense only, not conquest. Aggressive expansion was forbidden. Protected status would be granted to pre-spaceflight civilizations. They would be contacted peacefully when they were ready, not before. And most important, individual rights would be guaranteed for all sentient beings regardless of species. When the vote came, it was not unanimous. Some of the old council powers voted against it, but they were outnumbered. Species after species stood and declared their support. The Galactic Federation was born. Humanity did not seek to dominate this new federation. They had not fought for power. They had fought for principle. Admiral Taewon retired from active military service. He accepted the position of Supreme Commander of Defense, but his job was not to wage war. His job was to ensure peace through strength and readiness. We build these weapons so we never have to use them, Taewon told the new Federation Military Academy on its opening day. We train for war so we can preserve peace. Remember that. Power without restraint is tyranny, but restraint without power is surrender. We must be both strong and wise. Jiwoo became the dean of that academy. She trained officers from dozens of species in strategy and combined operations. Her students learned not just how to fight, but why they fought. They learned that military force was a tool, not a solution. That victory without honor was worthless. That protecting the weak was more important than defeating the strong. Young-soo commanded a joint vessel now, with crew members from 20 different species. His human pilot worked alongside a Kresh navigator. His Talran engineer collaborated with a human weapons officer. They were not just colleagues. They were friends. They shared meals together. They learned each other's languages. They celebrated each other's festivals. This is what the Federation means, Young-soo told a reporter who came to interview him. Not treaties and trade agreements. Those are just paper. The real Federation is here on this ship, where beings from across the galaxy work together and trust each other with their lives. Subin established the Federation Cultural Institute. She had dreamed of this during the war, a place where species could learn about each other, not through conquest but through art and music and shared stories. The institute became famous across the galaxy. Artists came from everywhere to share their work and learn from others. Dr. Kyung-mi, now old and gray, led the Federation Science Council. She worked with alien scientists to push the boundaries of knowledge. Together, they developed new technologies for exploration and discovery. Medicine advanced as human doctors worked with alien healers. Engineering improved as different perspectives combined to solve problems. And Hye-jin was elected as the Federation's first Secretary General. It was the highest diplomatic position in the galaxy. She accepted with characteristic grace and immediately began working to expand the Federation. She sent peaceful missions to isolated species. She negotiated with holdout systems that feared joining. She proved through action that the Federation meant what it said about equality and respect. Years passed. The Federation grew, not through conquest but through choice. Species joined because they wanted to be part of something larger than themselves. They wanted the protection, yes. But more than that, they wanted the opportunity, the chance to explore, to create, to contribute to a community that valued them. One day, a young alien student approached Hyejin after a speech. The student was from a species that had only recently joined the Federation. They had been enslaved under the old council and were still learning what freedom meant. "Ambassador," the student asked shyly, "I have a question. When the Empire leaders first saw your armada, when they asked whose power it was, what was the real answer?" Hyejin smiled. She had been asked this question many times, but she never grew tired of answering it. "They witnessed the power of humanity," she said. "But more than that, they witnessed something the galaxy had forgotten. They saw the power of freedom, of individuals choosing to stand together not because they were forced to, but because they believed in something larger than themselves." She continued, her voice growing stronger. "They saw the power of compassion backed by strength. They saw the power of hope that refuses to be extinguished no matter how dark things become. That is Earth's true gift to the universe. Not our weapons, not our ships, but the unwavering belief that all sentient beings deserve liberty, dignity, and the chance to reach for the stars." The student's eyes were bright. "And did you always believe you would win?" Hyejin laughed softly. "No, there were many times when I doubted, when I was afraid, when I thought we might lose everything. But I learned something important. Winning is not about being unafraid. It is about being afraid and doing what is right anyway. That is true courage." A century passed. The Federation continued to grow and prosper. War had not ended completely. The galaxy was too vast and complex for perfect peace. But war became rare. More often, disputes were resolved through negotiation and compromise. The Federation military existed, but mostly it explored new regions of space and responded to natural disasters. Earth's influence was felt everywhere, but not through domination. Instead, human philosophy spread through genuine appreciation. Other species studied human art and literature. They debated human political theories. They adapted human concepts of individual rights to their own cultures. And humans learned from aliens in return, growing and changing through exposure to new ideas. In the far reaches of space, a new species detected unusual energy signatures from nearby stars. They were just beginning to explore their own solar system. They did not know they were being watched. A Federation ship appeared at the edge of their detection range. It was a beautiful vessel, its hull bearing the flags of Earth and dozens of other species. The ship's captain, a young woman who was the great-great-granddaughter of one of Young Su's crew members, opened a communication channel. She spoke in a carefully prepared message translated into the new species language. "Greetings. We are the Galactic Federation. We have been watching your development with great interest and admiration. We come in peace. You are not alone in the universe. You are not threatened. You are free to develop at your own pace. When you are ready, when you choose to reach out, we will be here to teach, to learn, to welcome you as equals into the community of species. Until then, we will watch over you and protect you. This is our promise." The message was recorded by the new species scientists. They played it over and over, hardly believing what they heard. They were not alone, and the beings out there among the stars came in peace. It would take them years to fully understand what this meant. But already hope was beginning to bloom. In the Federation archives, the old question was preserved.